Fighting game AI has always been kind of weird. Their robotic and stiff gameplay is a super high contrast to what you'd actually be doing if you were the one playing. Like seriously, some of these computers just straight up stand there when realistically you'll be holding in some direction, whether it be for offense or defense. Anyways, you probably have heard of a fighting game called Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, developed by Enwin. Great game, I gotta say. But there's one thing that I feel is actually killing the game. Okay, maybe not killing, but it's scaring players away, and it's such an unusual case that I felt like it's worth talking about. Like I said earlier, fighting game AI is weird, but the AI in BFTG takes it a step further. Before I can talk about how the AI is now, let me briefly talk about how it used to be. BFTG launched on most of this gen's gaming devices in 2019. One thing that didn't come with the game, however, was a difficulty setting for computers. So you just had one nameless difficulty, and the computers themselves hardly knew what they were doing out there. It was almost like fighting training dummies. That all changed on May 20th, 2021, when a patch was released that improved the behavior of the AI, and they added 3 difficulty settings: easy, normal, and hard. Well, that's great. If players want a challenge, they can select the hard difficulty, and if people just want to chill, there's always the easy difficulty. All is well for everyone, at least you would think so, right? Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So let me confirm right now that yes, the AI has been dramatically improved. If you're not familiar with the gameplay of BFTG, all you gotta know for now is that it's basically a grounded Marvel vs. Capcom game with heavier emphasis on combos. Yes, even heavier than MVC. So the computers went from training dummies to actually moving about and doing the crazy combos that good players do. The most famous example being Anubis actually going for blink minutes, a tricky technique that most good players can't even do. It's like they watched tournament footage and programmed the AI solely off of that. The problem with this, however, is that the computer that just performed this kind of combo on me is on the easy difficulty setting.
You serious?
That's right, when improving the AI, Enway must have forgot to tone down the absurdness of it for the easier difficulties. Just take a look at the difference between the easy and hard difficulties on a fighting game like Dead or Alive 5. On the left side, you'll see that the easy computer is hardly doing any actions, whereas on the right side, the computer is more aggressive and alive. It's pretty much a staple in fighting games at this point to have the lower difficulties practically do nothing to give the player more chances to fight back. Now compare this to BFTG, you'll see that the AI isn't all that different between easy and hard difficulties. Both AIs are on the constant move and they perform long combos on you if they get a hit. I personally believe that there's some slight decision making between the two, but overall the computer doesn't care about what difficulty it's set to. It'll do whatever it wants to do. So naturally, when the update first came out, most people were pissed. I can't count how many times I've seen someone talk about how the computer doesn't let up and just beats them constantly. We can just sit here and smirk and give them the old lazy get good advice, but you have to understand that the general population is terrible at fighting games. Most people who play them don't immediately start getting into things like frame data, character matchups, tournament matches, etc, etc. When they first boot up a fighting game, their first instance is usually to check out arcade or story mode, as it's often the first option on the main menu. Heck, I do this to this very day when I try out a brand new fighting game. And I even go a step further and make sure that it's on the easiest difficulty, because I don't want to get sent into battle and have the computer start wailing on me without even knowing the mechanics of the game. There are a few things that kills a person's mood faster than quickly losing badly without even knowing what you did wrong, an occurrence that is all too common in the world of Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. What's funny is that anyone who's an intermediate player or higher should have no problem with the CPU, but it doesn't matter since the majority of people who will try out BFTG aren't at that level, and they will most likely stay that way. This may have worked in the arcade era where the CPU was literally meant to be broken to sucker you out of all of your quarters, but not in the age of console and computer gaming. I always wonder about how the current CPUs affect the overall player base of the game. BFTG isn't exactly the most populated fighting game, so seeing players get so discouraged from the AI that they don't continue definitely stings. I get that fighting games are meant to be played against another human opponent, and personally I think fighting against the CPU is about as fun as playing bullet ball. But sometimes, a good first impression is all you need to push your skill in a game even further, even if it was gained from just fighting a robot. Now with newer players being frustrated, those good first impressions will be much more rare, and public opinion of Grid will shift into a much more negative view. Anyway, if you're listening to this, please do us all a favor and tone down the easy difficulty to more training dummy levels. Not just for me, but for all of the casuals who think about trying out your game. I mean, the computer can already do stuff human players can do, like blocking while frozen, blocking unblockables, and taking command throws. You had to brain the CPUs at one point of the game's lifespan anyway, now it's time to bring them back. Signed, Hollow Shy. There, you think that'll get them to budge?
No.
Anyways, even if they don't fix this problem, don't let that stop you from giving the game a solid chance. The CPUs don't care, but me and the rest of the Battle for the Grid community have no problem helping out new players and answering any questions they have about the game. So join the official Discord, we'd love to have you. This has been Hollow Shy, and I appreciate you guys for watching. Hey, if you made it this far, I just want to say thanks again for giving me your time. If you're interested in more Grid content, please consider subscribing. I also have plans to cover DNF Duel when that comes out, and plenty more fighting games. Hope to see you then.